This week, as we discuss cognitive load theory, we're going to go through some of the basic concepts on this subject. In the Handbook of Research on Educational Communications and Technology, one of the effects shown is in how much information we can process at any given time. Pavlo Antonenko, Tamara von Gogh, and Fred Pass, 2013, provide insight into the research on brain functions. There are multiple technologies, quote, there are multiple technologies and methods to measure such physiological responses, but the techniques that have been most successful in advancing cognitive neuroscience, a branch that is arguably the most relevant to the educational research community, including non-invasive tools of two varieties. They either provide high-resolution spatial information and track changes in cerebral blood flows, such as functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI, and functional near-infrared spectroscopy, FNIRS, or tools that provide high-resolution temporal information and assess changes in the electrical activity of the brain, electroencephalography, EEG, and event-related potentials, ERPs, end quote, page 52. All that to say is that as far as our brain is concerned, it ingests information, then processes it, and determines whether or not to store it in long-term memory. The brain's ability to digest this information is based on what it is and the amount that's coming at a given time. Miller's 7 plus or minus 2 theory offers an explanation. That's why our social security numbers are 9, and phone numbers are really 9 or 7, depending on how you look at it. And these are great examples of how this works. You can only load a brain with so much information before it has to be processed and put away. Antonenko et al., 2013, puts it this way. Cognitive load theory proposes a model of human cognitive architecture that helps explain and predict the allocation of working memory resources and the interaction between working memory and long-term memory to deal with A, intrinsic cognitive load caused by intrinsic complexity of information, B, extraneous cognitive load caused by ineffective presentation of information, and C, germane cognitive load, effective processing resulting in deeper learning, end quote, page 57. Now, I've observed all three effects personally and in my classrooms. Intrinsic cognitive load is probably the most common, which is based on content. I remember the first time trying to teach history to a bunch of high school students, and it was a very difficult concept for them to grasp because everything was old and outside of their normal working function. Extraneous cognitive load is probably the most common in any teaching environment. I do seminars, and one time I was at a hotel where they had the windows on one side, and outside the windows was the pool and recreation area. So the whole day, needless to say, we dealt with a lot of distractions that make it difficult for people to understand. Germane cognitive load is when I'm teaching advanced social media marketers. They already have the basics, and it's very difficult sometimes to understand exactly if you're moving them forward or if they're staying at the same place. So this is a very real area in our learning process, and we must understand how this affects people's ability to learn and to retain information.